DSJ, Dennis Smith Jr., a name we all know today if you are a basketball fan. Brooklyn Nets backup point guard who has slowly built a reputation for himself this season as one of the best defensive point guards in all of basketball. But who remembers when he first burst onto the scene as a high school sensation, dominating the courts with his explosive athleticism and jaw-dropping plays? Smith became a sensation and a must-watch player, and he even had people legitimately thinking he was the second coming of a Baron Davis, Russell Westbrook, Derrick Rose type of player out the gate. Heck, even on draft day, he was compared to Steve Francis, so that should put into perspective how good people thought Dennis Smith Jr. would become. He was a part of that 2017 NBA draft class, one that featured the likes of Jason Tatum, Bam Adebayo, De'Aaron Fox, Donovan Mitchell, Kyle Kuzma, and Jared Allen, and also Lauri Markkanen. This class has so many all-stars across the board, and you could argue it's one of the best of the modern generation, or even in NBA history, you could argue it could be top 10. This year of the NBA draft was supposed to be the year of the point guard, and I'll never forget thinking how good all these guys would be. I mean, Markelle Fultz went at 1, obviously people thought he would be a generational point guard, and then Lonzo at 2. As a Lakers fan, I was so hyped. Then there was De'Aaron Fox, who went to the Kings, who, looking back, is by far the best point guard of this class. But not just that, Dennis Smith Jr. was probably one of my favorite players, if not my favorite player, as a rookie coming out of college. And that sounds crazy to say, but this guy was so exciting. I thought he was going to be so good. But besides Dennis Smith, I mean, Frank Ntilikina was another guy who people were high on. He ended up going higher than Dennis Smith Jr., becoming a New York Knick, which was a bit of a questionable fit. But anyway, I remember thinking at the time Dennis Smith Jr. was the most ready-made point guard out of all these guys. And well, early on, it kind of did make a little bit of sense. I mean, De'Aaron Fox started off his career, he was very good, but he was very inefficient, like Dennis Smith, and they put up similar numbers. Lonzo obviously struggled very much so as a rookie. Markelle Fultz couldn't really get on the court and somehow forgot how to shoot and did his shoulder. And then Frank Ntilikina, he couldn't really handle the spotlight in New York. And besides that, I mean, nobody else from the point guard position really stood out to me, or to anybody in fact. There was another guy who was a shooting guard, or an undersized shooting guard, really did, being Donovan Mitchell. But besides that, this year was supposed to be the year of the point guard, and nobody really lived up to expectations. The Dallas Mavericks would take Dennis Smith Jr. 9th overall, which was a great fit at the time, but I sometimes sit here and wonder, what if the Knicks had taken Dennis Smith Jr. out the gate instead of Frank Ntilikina with Kristaps Porzingis? The NBA, it's a situational league, and it's proven time and time again. We've seen guys like Colin Sexton average 25 a game, and then a couple seasons later, he's just scraping double digits, that being upwards of 10 to 15 minutes loss per game, which is absolutely crazy. Likewise with Colin Sexton's former teammate Darius Garland, who remembers statistically when he was the worst plus-minus player in the entire league, and now he's widely considered as one of the best point guards in the league and facilitators. Sometimes it's just a product of an organizational fit around someone that can stunt someone's growth and confidence. And at the beginning, things looked pretty smooth sailing for Dennis. Sometimes I guess off-the-court factors can play a significant role in a player's NBA journey. In Dennis Smith Jr.'s case, issues such as coaching changes, trade rumors, and personal challenges might have influenced his performance. So after averaging in college for NC State 18 points per game, around 5 rebounds, 6 assists, shooting 45% from the field and 36% from 3, it was kind of, I guess, set in stone that Dennis Smith Jr. would come into the league and have a really high production, because the team who's drafting him would have seen what he did in college as the main guy and wanted to take a chance on him. I couldn't see Dennis Smith Jr. coming into the league and taking a back seat to another lead guard. It just wasn't the case. So if Dennis Smith Jr. was going to fall in the draft, he would. But a team who was in need of a point guard was always going to take him. That's why he worked out with teams like the Los Angeles Lakers so early, because genuinely this was the year of the point guard, and a lot of these teams needed a lead guard. That being the Kings, that being the Lakers, that being the Magic, that being the Knicks, the Mavericks, the Utah Jazz. There were so many teams who just wanted a lead guard. Oh, and of course the Philadelphia 76ers. It's a kind of an easy cop-out blaming a coach, and I'm not wholeheartedly doing it, but I think it's worth mentioning to be a massive contributing factor to Dennis Smith Jr.'s career. As a rookie, DSJ put up 15 points per game, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, with around a steal a game, and shot around 30% from 3 and just under 40% from the field. He had his moments where he showed us promising signs of the future, and those numbers aren't astonishing, especially as a rookie. I mean, not many point guards especially come into the league and even half the product of what they will be in the future. So the fact that he came in and averaged 15, 5 and 4, I think that shows that Dennis Smith Jr. always had the potential within him. He just needed a situation that believed in him. And well, Rick Carlisle probably wasn't the guy that would believe in a guy like Dennis Smith.
They put out an article about what happened in Dallas. Like, I ain't put that shit out. They ain't asked me nothing about it.
For real? So you had no input on that?
I had no input. All I did was confirm it. Like, damn, how they know this? That's all I was saying.
That is just a fact. He does not like rookies, and that has been known throughout his coaching journey. Well, there is an anomaly. That's the thing. Carlisle and the Mavericks front office were skeptical that the two could coexist, that being Luka Doncic and Dennis Smith Jr. during Luka's rookie year. Rick Carlisle reportedly accused Dennis Smith Jr. of being jealous of Luka Doncic during a team meeting. Players were said to be shocked from this incident, that including Luka, and Luka didn't really handle this too well, and there's a reason why Rick Carlisle was out of the Dallas Mavericks. It's because Luka and Rick butted heads, to keep it blunt. Carlisle handed the team over to Doncic on the court and tried to get on his good side whenever he got the chance, but their direct relationship wasn't the problem until it was, if that makes sense. Carlisle's behavior towards other players was what bothered Doncic, and I think reading this, it tells me that is most likely Dennis Smith Jr., and that slowly led to a collapse in their link as a coach and a player. Dennis Smith Jr. and Luka formed a fast friendship off the court, living in the same building, playing video games. In Luka's own words, "We had a lot of good times," Doncic said, "but not everything is meant to be, especially for the media," he added with a wry smile. In his second season, much would be the same for Dennis Smith, but averaging less points and similar shooting percentages. So is this the case of Rick's coaching, or Dennis and his early lack of adapting to a game style playing along Luka Doncic? In my opinion, as much of a fan that I was of Dennis Smith, and still am, he didn't adapt well to playing next to a superior player like a guy like Jalen Brunson, who was easily able to do so. So on paper, even if they are friends off the court or not, I don't think Dennis Smith Jr. and Luka would have actually worked anyway. I think he would have been a good fit if he could have accepted a role and embraced the role with him being a secondary ball handler next to Luka. I guess adapt to catch and shooting at a high level throughout the future. But look, history shows even now Dennis Smith Jr. isn't a great three-point shooter, so I just don't think Dennis Smith Jr. would have been able to adapt, but I guess we'll never know. I do think though Dennis Smith Jr.'s defensive intensity that he brings now, if he would have brought that to the Dallas Mavericks in his second year, maybe he would have been viewed a bit differently, because he did have a bad reputation. I mean, at 6'2", being unable to shoot the three ball, it's going to be pretty challenging to say the least to stay in the league for a longevity of time, especially because he relies so heavily on his athleticism. Being an undersized guard, he's probably just scraping 6'1", 6'2". It was always going to be difficult for Dennis to succeed in this modern day NBA, especially in an era where the revolution of the three ball, it was changing during that specific time. That was when the Warriors, I guess, became relevant and became a dynasty. But I think if he was put into the mid 2000s or early 2000s, I think he would have thrived. And that is why he was compared to guys like Baron Davis, Steve Francis, Stephon Marbury even. Could shoot whenever they wanted, do whatever they wanted on the court, like Dennis Smith did in high school and like he did in college. I guess I'll leave the video on this note. As much as I think Dennis Smith Jr. should have had a much better career than he did due to his confidence being killed by a coach like Rick Carlisle, who can be a dickhead, but look, he isn't wrong. At the time, Rick wanted to draft Donovan Mitchell with that pick 9, and just imagine if Donovan Mitchell and Luka Doncic played on the same Dallas Mavericks team. Maybe Kyrie, or I think it's a fact Kyrie probably wouldn't end up on the Dallas Mavericks, but they could have got a bit further, I guess, especially in a year like 2020 in the bubble. Seeing what Donovan did during that bubble series, I reckon Mavericks might have made a couple more Western Conference Finals appearances and perhaps would have gone to the finals. So maybe after all, Rick just knows what works and what doesn't. A pairing of Donovan and Luka could have been lethal. But then again, who knows after all? Maybe if the Mavs invested more in Dennis Smith Jr., he could have been a totally different player. But nevertheless, I think that wraps up my rant. Comment down below what you guys think about DSJ. Was he ever destined to be great in this league? Did Rick kill his confidence? Did the Dallas Mavericks ruin Dennis Smith? Or did he just ruin himself and he was never built to succeed in today's modern NBA? Anyway, this has been Marcus from the Bench Mob. For now, we'll catch you guys next time. Peace out. And also comment down below what other players you would like to see a video on in this specific style.